Today is the debut of Coffee with the Candidates, LPB's exclusive series featuring one-on-one interviews with each of the top Louisiana gubernatorial contenders. Learn where the candidates stand on issues important to voters as each joins me for a coffee chat at Frank's Restaurant. Now, Coffee with the Candidates is part of the Way Forward Election 2023, LPB's special gubernatorial election coverage leading up to LPB's September 28th televised statewide debate. In this episode, I sit down with Sharon Hewitt, a state senator and Republican running for governor. Sharon Hewitt is a state senator running as a Republican who has served in the Louisiana legislature since 2016. She lives in Slidell, and prior to serving as a lawmaker, Sharon was a senior executive and engineer at Shell. Sharon, thank you so much for joining us here at Frank's Restaurant for our coffee chat. Now, before we get started, how about a cup of coffee?
I would love that, and I even brought my own mug.
Of course you did, like a good candidate on the campaign trail.
That's exactly right. I'm going to let Frank have my mug when we're done, though. How about that?
I'm sure Frank will appreciate it. All right, so here is the deal, viewers. These are the ground rules with our coffee chat. Every one of our candidates got the same 5 questions ahead of time. They have 7 minutes to answer the questions. We will be timing the Q&A, and I will be keeping track of the allotted time to make sure we stick to our 7-minute rule. So, are you ready?
I think so.
All right, so let's take a sip. And we'll get started. So let's start the timer. Here we go. First question. Louisiana is experiencing an insurance crisis as auto, property, and flood insurance rates continue to rise. And some insurance companies, well, they quit writing policies altogether. How will you address the affordability and accessibility of insurance for Louisianians?
Well, thank you, Karen, for that question, and thanks to Frank for hosting us today. This is an amazing setup, and it's so fun to be in the heart of Baton Rouge. Insurance is probably one of the questions or the issues that I hear the most about as I travel the state. And some of the emails that I've gotten are heartbreaking when people talk about, I don't know what I'm going to do, I can't afford my insurance and my mortgage, and I'm afraid after 20 or 30 years, I'm going to have to walk away from my house where I've raised my family. And you can just feel the pain. It is devastating right now to families in Louisiana, and it's not just because we have more hurricanes than everybody else. It is because we fundamentally regulate the industry different than other states do. And so it is a state where many times companies just choose not to write policies here. And so the best way to lower insurance premiums is to change our regulatory environment so that companies do want to write policies here. I'll give you one simple example. In most states, the companies operate under a free market. They establish their rates themselves and then inform the insurance commissioner. In Louisiana, the insurance commissioner has to approve their rates, which doesn't allow them to manage their risk and their portfolio. And so when I'm governor, we're going to get all that legislation passed that's going to put us more in line with all the other states and bring our insurance rates down.
All right. With the state's temporary 0.45 sales tax set to expire in mid-2025, declining gas taxes people pay at the pumps, and other changing circumstances affecting our tax structure, some say Louisiana is headed toward a fiscal cliff. What is your plan to create a sustainable tax base and a competitive tax environment?
Well, I do not believe we're heading to a fiscal cliff, first of all, so don't freak out. You know, we 2 months ago said that we were anticipating an $800 million shortfall in 25. Yesterday or last week at joint budget at the Capitol, now they're calling that a $400 million, issue. One, we're not very good at estimating our revenue 2 years in advance. We're barely good enough at estimating it several months in advance. So I think that we have to give the market some confidence where businesses want to come and work here. We have done significant work already in the legislature to lower the tax rates. The goal is to get to zero state income tax. That is what everyone measures other states by, and I think that we are on a path to do that.
All right, Louisiana has some of the highest incarceration and recidivism rates in the nation. How are you going to lower crime and improve public safety?
Well, crime is certainly something that is touching everyday families. One of the bills that I'm really proud of that I passed this last session deals with fentanyl, the drug that is being laced in counterfeit pills and that students are taking kind of unknowingly about the dangers of doing that. And those are fatal decisions. So the bill I passed throws the book at first, second, and third offenders of fentanyl so that we can root that out of our community. Drugs is kind of the base of much crime. Mental health obviously is an issue, and it is also a precursor to crime. We have to considerably increase our investments in mental health. We have done a lot of work in the legislature in 2017 to work on nonviolent offenders and reentry programs. We're doing a terrible job of measuring whether those programs are working. So I am a data person as an engineer. I want data to measure which of those programs are working and which ones are not.
So we officially have about 3 minutes left. 2 more questions. Recent studies show that sea levels are rising faster than we can rebuild the coast, and a consequence of this, of course, is climate change. Renewable energy sources such as wind and water and solar power can help combat climate change. What is your stance on developing renewable energy sources in Louisiana?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but I was a senior executive for a major oil and gas company in my professional background. So I understand the importance of oil and gas to our state. Internationally, 40% of the world's energy is going to be supplied in the year 2050 by traditional fossil fuels. So we cannot snub the oil and gas business and the natural resources that we have in our state in Louisiana. So first of all, we have to continue to support the oil and gas industry. But it's also smart to broaden your portfolio. And I support an all of the above energy strategy. I have provided funding for hydrogen state funding, which is kind of a new evolving area. We certainly passed legislation to support wind and solar, where the free market, wants to establish those kinds of energy sources. I think that's fine. We want to make sure we protect the state's interest and make sure that that is going to be a reliable and affordable energy grid for our people.
Minute and a half less. Statistics show that young people are moving out of Louisiana for better educational business opportunities and quality of life. How do you intend to stop this so-called brain drain and make Louisiana more attractive for younger generations? And you have about a minute 10 left.
Perfect. So I've been in the legislature for 8 years now. I serve as the Senate Majority Leader. Probably the thing I'm most proud of all the 125 bills I've passed, is my work in education. I have supported early education. I have turned the page on literacy and on math and STEM and work in the high schools that allow more dual enrollment and industry-based certifications. The bottom line is what every parent wants is for our kids to grow up in Louisiana, right, and to choose to stay and live and work here so we can grow old with our grandkids. And the foundation for that and the silver bullet is education. And then working backwards so that we're providing the ever-changing pipeline, education pipeline, so that we're preparing our students for the skills that our employers need. We want our employers to hire people from Louisiana, to stay in Louisiana, go to work here. And I think I have a game plan for do that and a track record for having done a lot of work in this area.
And that is time. All right, that's a wrap. Now, before we go, I have one last question. This is my bonus question. You ready?
I'm ready.
Biscuits or beignets?
That's a no-brainer. We are at Frank's, right? Famous for biscuits. I am absolutely going for the biscuits.
All right.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Thank you.
Even better than advertised.
All right.
This program is made possible in part by Frank's Restaurant, a place known for the gathering of friends, family, and colleagues, where deals are signed over a handshake and a biscuit. For information on catering, menus, and locations, go to franksrestaurantla.com.